in this next category of the best pilot or first episode in a legacy Star Trek series, the nominees are TOS's The Cage, the animated series Beyond the Farthest Star, TNG's Encounter at Farpoint, DS9's The Emissary, Voyager's Caretaker, and Enterprise's Broken Bow. And the winner is DS9, The Emissary.
Yes.
Wow.
I'm a little biased, but
okay. That's definitely, that would have been my pick too. But we did not vote. We only let all the fans vote because we do not want to make anything biased. Sirach, welcome back. Melissa, you are representing Aaron Eisenberg here because Jake and Nog were in the inaugural episode. Also, please, everybody, welcome back Mr. David Livingston and another very special guest. You know him. You love him. We love him even more. Mr. Well, Dr. Bashir, everybody. Alexander Siddig. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. Did you
Good
have...
to see you, Sid.
It's all right. It's lovely to see you. It's lovely to see you, Ryan. David. Mwah, mwah, mwah. And Melissa. Good to see you, my darling.
good to see you too.
When Sid talks, don't you all just kind of stop and just like want to listen?
Yes, it is a little bit dreamy.
It really is.
Drugs that I send you, and I'm the dealer.
Sid, did you have any idea that first episode, that first moment, did you think, all right, I'm going to have a career for the next week or for the next year or for the next month or for the next 7 years? Or did you just think that this was like, we'll see what happens?
Yeah. We just started. We just began, and I don't think any of us had any idea. We just put one foot in front of the other. Even producers like David, we just began, and we had a lot of work to do, and we just got on with that. It was such a privilege. It was such a wondrous event to be involved in, and I am so lucky. And I feel a connection with a lot of the people who watch the show, and I obviously have a connection with the people who were in the show. And I don't think I can point to a more beautiful period of my life than those Sirach's young boy days in my 20s. They were wonderful, wonderful. David, I never knew how old you were. So
He was also in his 20s.
Well,
Yeah,
Sid, I have to correct you on something about being aware of what would happen with the show. I don't know if you remember, but during one of the many 16-hour days we had, you came up to me and we were having a conversation, and you were really feeling the hours and everything. And I said, well, you better, get a hold of yourself, because this is going to be for 7 years. And you looked at me like I was out of my mind.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember the conversation, but I do. And I was proved right. For three out of the 4 shows made 7 years that I worked on.
Yeah.
Pretty extraordinary.
Astonishing. And I didn't believe you. I simply didn't believe you. We were all so privileged, and I'm so grateful that we won this award. I didn't dress up, but I did. But I think you'll understand why I did. So the colors will make sense to you.
Oh yeah,
I think it's a great honor. It's a great honor, and we all are. I wish that Gene was around to lead us all into a positive view of the future, because right now it's pretty dystopic and very trying for all of us. So thank you for the recognition, Sid.
Yeah.
That was subtle yet poignant, Sid. Good job there. I didn't notice that. Very good. So David, you're saying that you knew it was going to be 7 years, or were you just kind of guessing and kind of playing it confidently?
Well, first of all, I knew about The Next Generation and the inevitability that that was going to go 7 years. And I knew that this was Paramount's golden goose, and that every time it laid an egg, 7 years. So that's exactly what happened. I really had no doubt.
Wow.
And I also, I believe it was David Carson who directed the pilot episodes. I just want to make sure we acknowledge the work that he did on directing that episode. I thought it was fantastic, and all of us being new to the scene, he did an excellent job of making people feel comfortable and getting the shots that he needed to make a wonderful story.
Yeah.
It's the English accent, right, Sid?
Yes, it is. I do have to say, with regard to pilots, and I've done a couple now, and even in terms of Deep Space Nine, the writers work their butts off to make sure that that pilot is spick and span. They work on the entire season for about a year or a year and a half, depending on how long it takes to get the thing sold. But that pilot is the majority of the work. So everything that they can do is done in that pilot to tweak it. So every time you see the first episode, people have worked for months and months and months on that episode. And then the following episodes have to be brilliant, but they are doing those episodes on the fly. So that pilot, which we spent a movie budget on it, and we worked on it as a movie. We spent more time working on that pilot, 4 or 5 times the amount of time spent filming. So that was an astonishing feat, and we did work 22-hour days.
Yeah, it was extraordinary. I've done a lot of pilots in my career, and that was the hardest one I ever worked on. Yeah. And David Carson, bless him, he's a personal friend of mine, and he stayed in the trenches and he delivered it. He was terrific. Yeah. I don't know if people know, but he also he first started on The Next Generation with Yesterday's Enterprise, which is one of the classic episodes, in my opinion. And Rick then gave him the pilot for Deep Space Nine, and subsequently he did the feature Generations.
Yesterday's Enterprise, one of the best episodes in Star Trek history, in my opinion. Everybody went nuts when David showed up about 10 minutes ago. Sid, everybody went nuts when you popped in the live chat. I don't know if you can see the live chat right now, but there were a lot of hearts. Good. And some blue and yellow hearts, which was also very cool to see.
Really good. Yeah. Really
before we go, Melissa, when was the first time you actually saw the Deep Space Nine pilot? And were you hooked from the very beginning, or had you watched a bunch of Deep Space Nine and then went back and watched the pilot?
I don't remember the first time I watched the Deep Space Nine pilot. I do remember that it premiered on my birthday. I won't tell you which birthday, but I was a first run watcher of Deep Space Nine. It was a very influential show for a young adolescent girl in the 90s. So it was a very powerful, and I think The Emissary is the best pilot personally. So I'm glad it was chosen by the fans too. So
awesome. Well, Mr. David Livingston and Mr. Alexander Siddig, thank you so much for joining us, both of you. We really appreciate your time. This is live, so all kinds of crazy things can happen, but luckily you both showed up. You made us look good, and we really appreciate your time.
Of course.
You're welcome. It was fun.
Thank you, David.
Thank you to all you guys who voted for us. We still have a relationship with you guys. I don't know if you're going to be at conventions, and I do this thing every couple of weeks. Sirok does this thing every week. Ryan does this thing. Melissa does this thing. We're all staying in touch, especially during these times. And let's not get out of touch.
Love it. Thank you so much. And when I said crazy things can happen, everybody at home, you should see who's in the waiting room right now when I say crazy things can happen. So stay tuned for that. He or she is looking around right now saying, Can't be talking
Oh,
about me. All right. Well, thank you, David, and thank you, Sid. We really appreciate you.
Thank you very
You
much.
got it. Thank you. Bye.
All right.